We all have events in our lives that change who we are and our outlooks. This was mine. This was my call. After I was inspired to fight for the end of poverty and access to good education for all, I am guided with one question and one question only. Why do some have so much and others have so little? I use this channel to spread awareness and positivity around the world with a goal to teach people we all have the power to do great things and that every act of kindness can make a difference. Together, we can shape the world around us. I am Arissa Roy. Hello everyone, it's Arissa here and welcome back to my channel. So if you haven't seen my last video that I posted, I will put the link in the description right below here, and it should also come up as a card on your screen. Please go watch that as I introduce and talk about my new series, Mission Empowerment. Today I will be chatting with Maryam and Nivaal Rehman, twin activists and journalists from Canada. I'm so excited to say that they are my first guests, and I cannot think of a better way to kick off this new series. Hi, Maryam and Nivaal. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. Thank you so much for requesting to interview with us. We're so excited.
Oh my gosh, I'm so honored and so grateful. We could start off by doing maybe a little bit of an introduction. So you guys can say a few words and I can say a few words for our viewers who are not familiar with your work.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're twins, obviously. We're activists, journalists, and filmmakers as well. We're also the co-executive directors of our nonprofit, The World with M&R, which uses advocacy, storytelling, and development to take action for climate justice, gender equality, and inclusivity. We use social media and multiple platforms to try to elevate youth voices and inspire people to make a difference in the world. We're really passionate about creating change, and so it's really amazing to be able to meet people like yourself and see the impact that we're able to have. We're so always so surprised when young people like you reached out, and we're so grateful that you reached out as well, and we're excited to meet you.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I'm so excited to meet you too. And I've gone on your YouTube channel and I've watched your videos, and it's just incredible. And you guys really show and display that young people do have the power to make a difference and to change the world. So thank you so much for that. So I'll just say a few words about myself. So my name's Arissa Roy, and I'm a 14-year-old activist. My passion for education is the main thing that I advocate for, because it has always been something so fundamental and so special to me. But it wasn't until a few years ago when I went on a trip to India with my family that I realized not everyone has the access to go to school. So seeing children my own age and even younger not having access to food, water, shelter, and of course education is something that I will always remember, and it's stuck with me, and it kind of guides me in everything that I do. And I feel that growing up here in Canada, I didn't really know what extreme poverty was and what it looked like, and I didn't even know it existed. I feel like living in Toronto, I'm based in Toronto as well. I was kind of in a bubble in a sense. So it was when I stepped onto the ground of India, it was kind of like I transformed and went into another world. So I think that my main turning point was probably I had the opportunity to visit a school in the slums of Delhi, India, and I donated school supplies that I had brought back from home and I had fundraised for. So ever since that moment, I've been just trying to speak about my vision of a world where everyone is given the opportunity to add to our shared society, to become global citizens, and to, of course, uplift themselves out of poverty. So that's kind of a bit about me in a nutshell. So I have a few questions if we want to move on to that. So I think my first question is, what does being an activist or activism look like in your eyes, and what does it mean to you?
Yeah. So for us, I think first of all, your story is so inspirational, and we're so it's so inspiring to see other young people who are really passionate about education as we are. So thank you for sharing that. In terms of activism for us, I think it really looks like being able to take action for the causes that you care about, and making sure that I feel like a lot of young people these days don't sit around anymore. We want to make a difference. We want to take action, and so that it's activism, right? So action is like basically part of that word, and being able to mobilize other people or be able to work for the causes that we care about. That's really what activism looks like for us, whether that's through hosting a fundraiser or volunteering your time. There's so many ways that activism can manifest in the lives of others, but that's the very broad lens with which we look at activism. Yeah, for sure. And also like I guess like using the resources around you and your like where you're based to be able to take action. Like sometimes a lot of the times when we share about our work, like people find that maybe you have to travel to be able to make a difference, but that's not necessarily true. Like there's problems here in Canada as well, and I'm sure you notice that too. Like even though there's challenges in India, like and those are like really big challenges, there's also situations in here in Canada where people are not given equal opportunities, and other youth who may not be able to have the opportunities to travel can also take action in their communities. And so there's no one form of activism. It can look different for everyone, and we always encourage everyone to like find that like situation in their lives or in their communities where they can be of help, and then start their journey that way. So that's also important.
For sure. I definitely agree with you that, fighting for what you believe in looks different for everyone, because we all have access to different tools, and some of us may be better at different things. We all have our own gifts, whether public speaking or using things like social media, or maybe just your connections with in your community. I definitely think and agree with you on that sense. So I'm curious to know, when did your journey of activism and change making really start?
Yeah, I think we've growing up, like our parents always encouraged us to look at the world around us, and if there was something wrong, we were responsible for trying to address it or make a difference. Like it's not like we grew up with like this like a really big burden on ourselves or anything, but just like the fact that like even though we see challenges, like those exist, and we weren't really hidden from, in the sense that we would go around looking at the world as if like everything was perfect. Like we knew things were wrong from a very young age, like seeing poverty in Pakistan and things like that. But it really our perspective of like making a difference, and like the potential we had to make a difference, actually came into light when we were 8 years old. And go into that story a little bit? Yeah, so we visited a school in our village that our grandmother had actually donated the land to build, and very similar to your story, we met girls there who were our age, but they wanted to quit school when they reached grade 5. They didn't want to, but like they told us that they were going to, and it was because their families lived in poverty, and they would have to work to support their families, and basically their parents didn't understand the long-term benefit of sending their daughters to school. And so it took a while, but that's basically where we began. And we started by doing little things like hosting workshops and speaking to their parents and trying to get the girls to continue their education, or at least understand the benefits of that. And actually in 2015, which was I think about 5 years after we began our work, they like a lot of the girls told us that they were going to go to high school, and it was really inspiring for us, because we understood that and the girls, whoever were the age that they were going to be able to go to high school, which wasn't, I mean, it was a few girls, because not all of them stayed even until that point. But what was really amazing was that we were able to play some sort of role in that process or in that decision making. And to this day, we like work with the girls whenever we go to Pakistan. Most recently, we went last year, and we created a documentary about their journeys and their lives. And it's really incredible to see what those girls have been able to accomplish during this time. Two of them in particular, like Maryam and Rabia, like we featured them in our film as well, but they're really, really passionate about just pursuing their studies to university even. And it's really great to see that these girls have these passions, and education is really enabling them to achieve them. So yeah, it's really, really inspiring to be able to see whatever those girls are doing. And that's basically how we began.
Yeah, so your story seems pretty similar to mine. That's incredible. So what was it like? I watched your film, by the way, and it was, I don't even know how to describe it. It was so heartwarming and beautiful, and all the stories you shared were just, I don't know, it like made my day to watch it, and it was incredible. So I'm wondering, what was it like communicating with the girls' parents? Was it a challenge? I can imagine how hard it was.
I think mostly it was challenging in the sense that we were the same age as the girls, and so like, you know, like 8-year-old us like speaking to these parents, and so sometimes it was just like not taking us as seriously, or like trying to kind of like brushing us away, like yeah sure, like that type of thing. But as they found more and more, like we would go back every year or every other year, and we would be spending a lot of time in the village, and so like that consistency, like even if it wasn't always speaking with the parents, it was just all that time we spent with the girls, and they would see that like we're really, you know, this is something we're really passionate about, we mean what we're saying. And as we grew older, as we you know, our work there became more consistent, like that's when our impact also grew. Because, you know, it's hard in development projects and things like that, where if you come in from a perspective of like, you know, I know what's best for you and I'm going to tell you what to do, you can never do that. You have to you know, come in from a position of empathy, and then also understand where the girls are coming from or where their parents are coming from. And so we've always you know, gone in with that perspective and worked in the sense of like working together versus working from a top-down approach where we're telling them what to do. And so you know, that's how we were able to work it out, or we were able to support them in their journey versus like, you know, being responsible for all the decisions they made and things like that. And so and I would just like to add to that like over the years we've gotten to really bond with some of the parents as well, like Safia, who was she was featured in the film too. I remember just like even this time, like just having these long conversations about the future of her daughters and like what she wants them to do, or like the fact that we're always there to support. Like I think that really, like, because a lot of the times it's easy to say, oh, you should send your daughters to school, but if they don't have the resources to be able to do so, or if they don't have the means or like the support to be able to do so, then they won't be able to. We can make them see all these big dreams, but if that doesn't become a reality, it's kind of like disheartening as well. And so whenever we can, we try to support them, and if we, whatever little ways that we can help in, like whether it's providing school supplies or something, we try to do that for some of the families or whoever's like in need. And like I remember that some of the workshops that we conducted this time, like a lot of the girls brought their parents to us, or like their moms to us, and like after the workshop they'd be like, oh, this is my mom, and like they would make us meet with their parents, and it was so nice. And we would just emphasize to the parents how like their daughters are really incredible and they should continue to send them to school. And so it wasn't necessarily always a matter of us going around and like lecturing the parents. Sometimes the daughters would bring the parents to us, and we would get a chance to speak with them, and they were really on board with the idea now. So that was really amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I can imagine, you know, because for so many generations, girls' education wasn't seen as something maybe very important. All these parents, you know, probably found it hard to, you know, take a look at the world around them and say, you know, this is really important, and this is can make a difference, and my girls are worthy of this. So I can see how hard it would be on both ends. So back to your film, I'd say, what sort of inspired you to create it and to document these girls' journey?
Yeah, so I think, again, like with the activism, there was always this passion that we had for filmmaking. We grew up basically with a camera in our hands, and our mom is a really avid photographer, and she would always make like home videos of us. And so we were used to, seeing her behind the camera, but also like being in front of the camera and very, talkative. And
Yeah.
we would like go on family trips and like be hosting travel shows and things like that. And so ever since we were like very young, and,
Yeah.
and so there was this, intertwined passions that we had, one for activism and also for documenting and sharing things with the world through film, through photography. And so I think it kind of merged in that sense. And so when we went to Pakistan in 2015, we made a documentary, and it really didn't really have a set vision. It was just filming constantly whatever we were doing. Kind of like a really giant vlog. Yes. And then so we edited it, we put it together, and then we lost the footage. Like we had edited, we spent so much time on it, and we were so devastated. Exactly. Like it was, and it literally like for months we were, or like for that month or that area, like that time we were, it was awful. Like it was around the time of our graduation and everything, but we were like in grade 8. Yeah, so it was awful. But then our parents are like, we're gonna go again, don't worry about it. And so the next 5 years in high school, that was when we were planning our next film. So yeah, and we spent so much time like, and we wanted to like, there was moments where like, so 2015 was when we lost our other film, and like 2016 we were like making plans to go to Pakistan again. And it just so happened that like, because you tend to go in like March and February, but like February, March, when like the weather is a little bit better, you're just able to function in that environment better. So we wanted to go then, but obviously we couldn't skip school like we did before. We used to take homework with us and like go to Pakistan for like months in like the middle of the school year, but we couldn't do that in high school. And so we actually made this plan with our guidance counselor of finishing high school a semester early, so that we could go to Pakistan and make this film and everything. And so we actually finished high school like 6 months earlier than everyone else in our grade.
Yeah.
And we went to Pakistan, and this time it was much more planned. We started reaching out to our interviewees in around December, went to Pakistan in February, and then we had some interviews lined up already. And it was really exciting to be able to meet people like Ali Zafar, who we like watched growing up, like his music and his movies.
Yeah.
So it was really exciting, but it was really inspirational to be able to meet all those people. And I just think that it worked out in the end, because our first initial film was, again, as you mentioned, like a giant vlog. There wasn't much of a message. It was still like really awesome, but I think everything worked out well in the end. And we had, at that point, we had done the Dream Big Princess project with Disney, and a lot of the tools that they had given us, we learned how to use them over that period, and we were able to edit and film in a much more professional way than we would have if we had not had that experience, or if we had just released our other films. So I think in the long term, everything worked out really well.
Yeah, they say everything does happen for a reason, so that must have been, and your film is so well put together, and it just, it was amazing to watch. So on the Dream Big Princess project, can you tell me a bit more about what that is and your work with that project?
Absolutely. So I think it was 2018, so around 2 years ago, Disney collaborated with Girl Up to create a film project where they were going to choose girls from all around the world to represent their countries and interview a woman that inspired them, while also developing their filmmaking skills and working like with Disney to develop this project. And so we applied, and we never knew that we would get accepted, but we were chosen, and we were very lucky to represent Canada in the program. And so like it was a project, it was over a few months actually. We met at the all the girls, we met at the Girl Up Leadership Summit in Washington, DC. And after that project, we had like some training with like professionals from Pixar, BBC, and all these different like, really big filmmaking and production, storytelling companies. And then over the next few months, we planned out our film and actually like shot a project. We had like a film crew of like 12 people with us, and like we were given the opportunity to be directors, like also in the film interviewing our subject and
producers, everything.
It was amazing. And what was the last aspect of it? So we made our films, and it was actually, so we had 21 filmmakers. So all the girls, like after we initially met in Washington, they went back to their countries, made their films, and we like edited it and everything too. We had like professional editors working with us, and then like we thought that was the end, and we knew that it was going to release on International Day of the Girl as like this big campaign, and we were going to raise funds for Girl Up and things. But then like it was, I think it was in it was like before, it was in September that they told us that we were all gonna meet again, and we were gonna be on Good Morning America in New York, and then they were gonna fly us all out to Disney World on International Day of the Girl, and we were just gonna celebrate the big launch of our series. And it was just so exciting, and we all met again. It was so amazing to be on Good Morning America and like have that TV experience. It was like we were in New York for like less than 24 hours, and then we just like flew over to Disney World. We all had like one big plane, like like a bunch of us were like all in that flight. And then when we went to Disney World, it was so awesome because they had planned out so many things for us, and it was like we could go on any ride we wanted, and it was like, and we didn't have to wait in the lines. Like they would like bring us in literally from like the exit, so that it was like so we didn't have to wait, and it was just so magical. Like literally, that's all we get. And they, on the International Day of the Girl, they opened like Magic Kingdom just for us early in the morning, where nobody else was there, just so we could get like this picture in front of the castle and like film like the like I saw like some clips and things. We met Mickey and Minnie. It was just so awesome. Amazing. But yeah, I think ultimately with that project, like we really were like, our skills and our filmmaking, the things that we had been developing amateurly for years, we had like professional experience now. And obviously like the girls that we met, we're still in touch with all of them. It's those connections that we made are, you know, like things that are going to last a lifetime. And so it truly changed our lives, and we were so grateful to be able to be given that opportunity to get involved in the Dream Big Princess project. So actually right now we just launched like our reunion series, where we went on like Instagram live with a bunch of the girls. I think you were joining like some of the lives as well.
I was.
So those are all the girls from that project, and it's really awesome to stay connected with them.
It sounds like a dream itself, and I'm sure that experience of, you know, working with girls from all over the world and, you know, collaborating and working as a team was so powerful. I can just imagine.
Absolutely.
In your activism journey, did you face any challenges or speed bumps along the road, and how did you, you know, overcome those and learn from those?
Mm-hmm. One of the biggest things for us was that we were, as we started as activists, like really, I mean, we were doing this throughout our lives, but we really started to share our work on like social media and things in high school, and like just balancing like between high school and our schoolwork and everything, and like all these commitments that we had, and like trying to strike a balance between us wanting to do so much and not having enough time to do it, and then also like having some downtime or some free time to do things, to like, you know, have a mental health break. It was just it was a lot, and there were times where we were just literally like just drowning in work. There was like schoolwork, and we were involved in like 8 clubs and running those clubs at school, and it was really crazy. And so I think that was our biggest challenge, like always like trying to find the balance between all of these 3 things that really took up our lives. And yeah, like that, I think that was the biggest challenge, because we always like wanted to give our best efforts to everything. It wasn't like we could put like a half-hearted effort in like our schoolwork. We wanted to maintain like the best grades and also do all of this activism work. And there were times where like things would like clash into each other. Like I remember that we were doing like a musical with our school, like The Wizard of Oz, and it was like we had a it was a class actually, so it was a class, so it was like we got credit for that or whatever. And our final performances, like they were at like I think the end of May, beginning of June, and at that same time the Malala Fund asked us to attend the G7 finance ministers and development ministers meetings to ask world leaders to invest in girls' education. So it was like either this big performance that we had worked months and months and months to plan and like work on, or and it was like a 2 of the performances or something that we had to miss, but we were marked on those. We were like getting grades. Or it was like going to world leaders and asking them to like invest in girls' education. So that was like a moment where we were like, oh my gosh, we can't miss the performances, because the teachers had made it very clear that you have to like, you have to be there for you have to be there for the performances, or it was like pursuing this incredible opportunity. And so we like we immediately spoke to the teachers, and they were so nice about it, and like they really made an exception, and they allowed us to go, and they were like, this is an incredible opportunity, you should go. But yeah, like there was moments like that where sometimes you have to choose, or you have to make these tough decisions, or try to that's when the people who you work with really matter, and you have to learn how to, I guess, communicate your struggles with them, or any problems that you have, and having that open communication is so important. So
yeah, for sure, I would agree. Like, and also sometimes like as activists, there's so many issues in the world, so you want to make a difference for everything. Like you want to take climate action while also supporting girls' education and all these things. And sometimes when you don't see progress immediately, it's like you get worried, and you're like, is the work I'm doing really, like, does it really matter? And what we've found is that it does. Like you have to keep on going at it. You're going to see progress, if not immediately, eventually you will. And so it's important to like, check in with yourself, and tell yourself the why of like why you're doing everything that you're doing, and keep yourself motivated that way too. So yeah,
that's great advice. And I feel like for me, as I'm just starting off my journey, I do fall into those times where I question myself, am I doing enough? Am I trying hard enough? And is my effort actually making a difference? So I definitely think I will take that with me. So thank you for that advice.
Yeah.
Having said that, you have accomplished so many incredible things. So what do you think has really helped you, accomplish those things?
One of the biggest things for us is that I feel like a lot of these opportunities that we've gotten, we've never expected them. Like, honestly, like many of the interviews that we've done, I think the only time where we intentionally like sought out interviews was like for our documentary. Before that, it was just kind of these opportunities came our way. And I think that the most important thing to remember is that you should stay true to who you are, and you have to keep working hard for the things that you care about, and eventually like the universe finds its way of like giving you opportunities, or making you have those incredible experiences. And so just always, I think that we should stay true to our goals, and we should pursue like being able to make a difference over like doing things that make you look cool or whatever. Like that has never been our goal. Like, and so that's why I think that we've gotten these opportunities, but they've never been, I guess, as intentional as we as it might seem. I think it's just been really amazing to have those things. And once you start working really, really hard, like we started with our YouTube channel, and different organizations see your work and they want to collaborate with you, and it's really, really amazing. But you should just keep on working, and eventually, like even if it doesn't happen right away, you will get really awesome opportunities, and people will eventually see all the awesome work that you're doing. So yeah, I think that's the secret behind our success. It's just not really having a secret at all. It's like it just comes your way. Yeah.
And also I think like based off of that too, like this element of like working hard, like a lot of the stuff we share on social media is like are these big things, and like or the work that we're doing that we want to use to inspire others. But like there's a lot that people don't see either. Like in high school, like Nivaal mentioned earlier, we were involved in like 8 different social justice based clubs, and so they were all related to like the environment, or one of them was like youth in action, where we were doing different initiatives like for food drives and things like that. And so that took up the bulk of our time in school and those types of extracurricular activities. So although we were sharing a lot on social media, there was like this whole, I think the majority of our lives in school that we weren't sharing about. And so like that was where the bulk of our time went, where we were spending like so much hard work, and it took like hours on end, where we were planning events or planning fundraisers and all those types of things. And so I think having both elements is also important. Like if you are going to use social media to like share your work, like having that stuff, but then like not making that take over your life. Like sometimes people like we'll go on social media and share it, and like people ask us like, is like all the work that you do just for social media? And we're like, no, there's like aspects of our work that you don't even see, right? And so splitting that up, and I feel like your passion like right now is just amazing to see. You're on like such a great track, and you're gonna like do amazing things, and we'll be talking to you about this like years later, and you're gonna be like, yeah, remember we were chatting or whatever. And so we encourage all young people to just continue on your path, get involved at school, get involved with organizations outside as well, and use social media and these types of resources to take action too. But like that the stuff you do in real life as well is just as important. And so striking a balance between the two, and then you're going to be able to make the change that you want to make in the world. And so you're on an amazing track, Arissa. I love that you're using your YouTube channel to share these types of stories, and share your story as well. So keep it up, for sure.
Thank you. Yeah. I think that actually brings me to my next question perfectly. What advice would you give people about social media? And because I know it's been such a huge part of your journey. So what would you say to people who are maybe struggling with it, or who are trying to use it to spread their voice?
Yeah, I feel like social media can be such a rabbit hole sometimes, because you want to make a difference and stuff, but like as soon as you start, I think even like the amount of time that it uses, like you start to like scroll through your like news feed on Instagram or whatever, your explore feed, and it's just like there's so many random things that come up, or it could be like some things that bring you down, or are not necessarily like positive things. I think really like you need to be able to strike a balance between how much time you spend on each app or whatever. And we're guilty of this too. We don't always do this, but one of the things that we've really found is that if something like doesn't really make us happy or like uplift us, we'll like, you know how you can hide things on social media, or like you can like really curate your news feed as well, or whatever shows up, to be positive things, so that you're not getting this content that brings you down. Or because I feel like there's so many, and like there's so many problems in the world, and I think that once we start to see so many posts about all the negatives, we start to think that like, oh, there's so many things wrong in the world and we can't necessarily make a difference. But if you curate your feed even to show you things that are positive and uplifting, then you'll feel much better about yourself and what you're doing. And so I think that's really important when you're using social media, like recognizing that it can take a toll on you, it can have an impact even on the things that you're seeing on there. In terms of social media use, always be really cautious of what you post, and recognize that even if you don't have much of a following, or if you don't like necessarily have your account on public or whatever you post always stays there, and everyone can access it, like your future employers, I think you learn about this in school and stuff as well, but that is so important. And regardless of how big or small your platform may be, you need to always keep that in mind. Even when we were like very young, like we used to always be cautious of that and be careful about what we post, and recognizing that we have to post responsibly. So keeping those things in mind, it's really important for social media. And I think those are some of our tips.
And I think when we started like using social media, we were like quite young, but everything was like very private. Like, we had like our group of friends, and all of those settings on Facebook where like people couldn't even search you up and stuff, like those types of things we would do. I think my account is still like that on Facebook, but the thing is, like, starting off, until like we recognized what it was or figured out how we wanted to use it, like we didn't even have like Instagram and things like that, or Twitter, and then in like high school we were like, there's a way that we can use this positively, and that's when we really started to use it to share our work and inspire others to make a difference. But before then, we didn't really use it, and that's not to say that like you shouldn't use social media at all, but just like being intentional about like if you're going to be using it to share your work, or even if it's a private account and you're just sharing it with your friends, like just posting positive messages and positive things, that can uplift them too, and like make a difference in that way. And so there's just always being intentionally positive about the way you use social media, no matter how you're going to use it, is something that we find is really important. And like social media is good, but it's like you can't let it like take over your life, like
it's not the only way to make a difference.
There needs to be a balance of some sort in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess that's something I struggled with for a while. I was so scared about, Instagram and Twitter and all of those things. I was like, no, I don't know what people are going to say or things like that. But there was a point when I realized that, as long as I keep my values in mind and the reason why I'm using it in mind, it can be an amazing tool. And I think that's what I've experienced thus far. Whether just seeing like a positive message come up on my Instagram feed, or I see your videos all the time and they always make me smile. It really does impact me. So I'm very grateful for that. And I think you said it really well. There needs to be a balance, and you need to focus on what makes you happy. So
Absolutely.
yeah. And your inspiration to start your journey.
I think like I used a lot of inspiration growing up, like as you mentioned before, like parents and our grandparents like always like said were such great role models for us. But like if we talk about a particular person that's not in our family, because our family is obviously so inspiring for us, and it was Imran Khan, who is Pakistan's prime minister. Like I don't think we talk about this much, but it's just because I don't know why people don't usually ask about this, but he really like his journey and his like reading his books and like all of these things like really like helped us understand that anything is possible, and that like in like the most cliche way that like you can make your dreams come true, like the impossible can be possible. And I think that around the time that we were doing our activism, or when we were really young, we I think it was in 2015 as well, like we worked so hard to meet him and try to get to meet our hero, and it actually worked out. So we spent like more than a month like being in touch with like different people in his political party and his chief of staff, who unfortunately passed away. He was such an incredible person. But yeah, like when we had like fundraised at our school, and we literally told everyone at our school about him, like everyone knew.
And just to
him.
give some background to like your viewers as well, like he was a cricketer who won the World Cup for Pakistan, and then he built like the first cancer hospital in the country that gives free treatment to the poor, and it was entirely built on donations, and he's on his way to building his third now. And just like his like
he
vision,
built like a university
yeah.
for students in like a rural community. So
and like his like general vision has always been to he's one like really focused on environmental action. They planted like 1 billion trees while he was like a provincial leader in one province, and now they're on their way to planting 10 billion, and so things like that. But then also just combating forces of like corruption and like uplifting people who are in poverty. And so like that's kind of his like message. But we've always supported him that much. And I think like Nivaal was mentioning, like we fundraised for his cancer hospital with our school, and then we gave him the donations as well.
So our goal was to like when we went to Pakistan, we wanted to like give that donation to him, and we had like no no means of like contacting him or anything, and we have no political connections whatsoever, and he's like one of the most sought after people in Pakistan to like meet because he's so famous. But we said, like, we told ourselves that like this trip, like we're gonna meet Imran Khan, and everyone's like, you're crazy, you're not going to. But we worked it out, and we actually ended up meeting him, and that was the first moment where we realized that like no matter what people say, like it was such an Imran Khan moment, because every time like he did something, everyone would always say like, no, it's not possible. Like even his cancer hospital, people said it was like literally impossible to make it, but he did it. And that was the same thing with us meeting him. Like everyone in our family was like, you can't meet him, like you're literally like and we had no social media then, no nothing. Like we were just kids. We were 13 years old at the time, and we ended up meeting him. And so that was like Imran Khan's journey has like inspired us so much, and so that's like one of the main people who has served as our inspiration, not really through social media, just in general, like through his books and things.
Yeah, and I think growing up, like social media hasn't really played that much of a role in our lives. And like I remember like when we were very young, we were just like really into books a lot. We would read about people and explore the world in that way, and just spend a lot of time outside. I feel like nowadays it's like different with young kids, and social media has also gotten a lot bigger, but when we really started sharing our work and using social media in that way was like around 4 or 5 years ago, but our journey has been much longer than that. And so I feel like that the combination of the two things is also what motivates us, and that's part of the reason why we use social media differently. At the time when we started, like we didn't see similar things around on social media, and like people really using it for activism and things like that. like they do today. And so like that's what, I guess that's what inspired us and motivated us. And you know, just that's again that thing about that balance, like looking to sources outside of the internet, reading books, and you know, looking at that aspect of the world is also important in developing your journey and your inspirations and things like that. And I feel like that's also important. So yeah.
For sure. I'd say, you know, I've been talking to a lot of my friends and my peers and young people I know, and they say that they think they're not good enough, or they don't have enough power to really make a difference. So what would you say to them? What advice would you give to those people?
I think the biggest thing that we can say is, like, look at us. Like, we're just two normal girls. Like, we grew up in Toronto as well, just like all of you. And we just, honestly, like, the only thing we had was, like, our dedication. And if you are dedicated to your cause and if you really want to make a difference, like, you truly have the ability to do so. And, like, we never knew that, like, when we were growing up, that we would be able to work with Disney and make a film, or work with the Malala Fund, or work with the United Nations Girl Up campaign, or all these big organizations that we are so, you know, we're so fortunate to be able to get involved with. But if you asked us like this like a couple years ago, we would have said like, we don't believe you, like that's crazy, like how is that even possible? But it is. And the reason why we share our story is because we want all young people to know that if we can do it, you can do it too. And so I think that our story is a true testament to the fact that when you stay dedicated, or when you work hard to try to achieve a goal, then anything is possible. And you can do incredible things if you put your mind to it.
Yeah. And honestly, like, we are very ordinary. Like, it's not even like the way, like, if you look at like the way that we grew up and everything, like we're like our family and all those types of things, like I feel like a lot of people could relate. And that goes to show that, like, you know, the trajectory that we've seen our journey go on now, it's like it may seem like crazy or like impossible and things like that, but like the origins are very like normal. And so like it's also like that goes to show, like, you know, it's relatable. And you shouldn't believe that you can't just because, you know, you don't believe in yourself enough. But like, you should always overestimate your abilities, and just have that confidence, and keep on going from that way. And I feel like the best place to start is in your school, like school clubs and initiatives that you do, food drives and all those types of things. And whatever initiative that you want to do, that's a really good place to start. And your teachers will be there to support you once you show that dedication. But you know, that won't be possible unless you believe in yourself. And so that's the first step: believe in yourself, and then start taking action right in your community, and then it'll build from there. So yeah.
For sure. And I just to add to your point, you know, you don't have to be a somebody to do something. So I love that saying, and it's definitely something I try and remember every day. You know, a bit about your nonprofit and the World with M&R. So could you just explain a little bit about that, and you know, how we can get involved with it?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure. So as you were mentioning, the World of M&R, we use advocacy, storytelling, and development to take action for gender equality, inclusivity, and climate justice. So what that means is that we advocate. So we, you know, go to world leaders and political groups to try to make sure that the changes that we're making are, you know, turned into laws. So whether that's working with the Girl Up campaign and attending their, you know, their advocacy day to march Capitol Hill and talk about like bills that support girls' education, or supporting the Blue Dot campaign with the David Suzuki Foundation to try to get the right to a healthy environment put in our constitution. So those are some of the types of things that like we try to support organizations that are doing work like that. In terms of storytelling, we use like our social media and our platforms to try to raise awareness for these causes. And that's really like one of the main places where other people can get involved, because our blog, we're going to be doing a relaunch of that, and we're going to have opportunities for guest writers to get involved. So whether yourself or other people want to write for our blog about anything and everything related to activism and what you're passionate about, we would love to feature your work on our page, and we can share about it and stuff as well. So that's like one of the biggest ways we try to amplify youth voices from around the world. So that's one of the ways that you can get involved. In terms of development projects, we do like different projects in our village in Pakistan. So workshops and different things related to supporting girls and their journeys to going to school. We also recently started the Girls Run the World conferences, which are meant to inspire girls to pursue the career of their dreams. That's a collaboration with Girls for the World, which is another amazing organization. And so these are just some of the things that we work on, but there's so many ways that we try to take action, and we have like, we don't necessarily have a set group of projects. There's like a few projects that we work on continuously, but we always have like different things coming up, and so we're all very open to collaborating with people. If you have any ideas about ways that you want to get involved or you want us to take action, we're open to looking those through and working with our directors to try to make them happen. So yeah.
For sure. And I think I saw the link to your website or your blog. So I'll put it in the description below for everyone watching, so that you guys can stay up to date with all of Maryam and Nivaal's work. So I'm just gonna jump on to sort of a different subject now. So you said you were doing work with the United Nations, so you're probably well aware of the new campaign they launched, UN 75, which is, they're trying to make it the world's biggest conversation in order to connect people from all walks of life, from diverse backgrounds, from different age groups, and social statuses, and just basically to connect everyone. So the main question is, talking about the vision for 2030. With the Sustainable Development Goals. So what is one thing that you would like to see happen by 2030?
I think really like obviously I feel like a lot of these issues are going to take a long time to resolve, like girls' education, gender equality. There's a lot more like some of these things are really ingrained in our societies and cultures, and it's going to take a long time to combat that. But I feel like something that we can and need to address immediately is environmentalism, like our environment and environmental action. And so by 2030, I hope that we have a plan in place to actually save our planet, and that we really take this issue seriously. Like a lot of people were saying with COVID and everything, with the pandemic, the way that our governments were able to respond, how quickly everyone adjusted, knowing that it was an emergency, knowing that like we'd have no choice. I wish they would apply the same thinking to climate action, and just do like this kind of proves that these swift changes can be made. They're just not being made because climate action is just not taken as seriously for some reason. And so I hope that our world leaders by 2030 will have come up with and taken the action necessary to be able to address climate change and save our planet in the process, and also making sure that we transition into a world where we're more mindful of our environment and taking care of our species around us, and just like environmental action is something that can happen immediately and should happen by 2030 for sure.
For sure. And having that in mind, what are some ways that we as regular people can take action, and what do you think that world leaders need to do in order to achieve that?
One of the biggest ways that I think young people can get involved is by voicing their concerns and like making sure that our politicians and our world leaders know that we care about this. When I know that you're not voting age right now, but like trying to get people to vote for like a party that really cares about the environment and actually takes action, that's so important. In terms of world leaders, I think once we put enough pressure on them to take action, I think they really do need to make decisions that are valuing the future of our planet more than, I guess, money or things like that. I think that there's so many ways that you can get involved, but supporting organizations and groups that are doing important work to help the environment. Planting trees is so important, and we see that happening a lot in Pakistan. And so even like amid COVID, like they're doing like a bunch of tree planting activities, even that like maintain social distancing, but are continuing their environmental efforts. So I think there's a lot of ways that you can support, but like finding organizations and groups that are doing work is one of the first steps that you can take, and then finding out how you can support them as well, and support their efforts is so important. Yeah, and like adding on to like what our world leaders can do, like
investing in renewable energy sources, like not, continuing to invest in like oil pipelines and all these things. Like I know that's a really big issue in Canada, like
Yeah.
and that needs to stop, like, and with good alternatives for people who like work at the pipelines too, right? Like, creating jobs, and obviously that's important, but that would be something that like world leaders definitely need to focus on. Maybe even like developing like ways that like air travel can be more sustainable, because that's like a really big source of our energy consumption. So focusing on our energy consumption is something that's really important, but then also like conservation projects for like our environment, like instead of like cutting down trees in Amazonia and things like that, so there's a lot of different aspects to the issue and ways that our governments can take action.
For sure. I definitely agree with you. And yeah, I'm not voting age yet, but youth still have the power to make our voices heard. And I actually attended a climate strike a few months ago. I don't know if you guys, there was one in Toronto.
Yeah.
And, just being there with so many different people with one goal in mind was so empowering and motivational. So it was incredible. So we were talking about COVID-19. So how are you staying positive and hopeful during this time? I think this is like a question everyone's asking. So
yeah, I think we've been just really engaged in our work during this time. So not much has changed. I mean, everything has moved online really, but our mom was even saying that we're busier now than we were even like before. So it's just been and staying connected with people through like platforms like Zoom or FaceTime has really helped us stay positive and know that we can continue doing the important work that we do with the organizations that we work with, even if there's like a global pandemic going on, because the problems that we're trying to resolve don't stop with the pandemic. And so being able to work with like Girl Up, for example, or Girls for the World, we do like weekly meetings with them, has helped us be positive. And then we also like are taking some time to spend with our parents, and that has really helped us I guess stay positive, because we get to spend more time with our family and really like recognizing that if we take this in a negative light, then we won't be able to use this important time to be able to do good things. And there's like a positive light that we can look at everything in. So
yeah, and I think it's a great opportunity to reflect and slow down, and develop like schedules where like we're able to uphold our mental health and our well-being that way, but then also be productive and doing positive things. And so we're lucky because everything's online, right? Like this is where social media comes in and things like that. Like you can really use it positively during this time, if you can't like be volunteering in person and things like that. And so taking advantage of those resources is also important.
for sure. Yeah, I know that everything. I was just telling my family that I can't imagine what life would be like without technology right now, and just being able to connect with you guys over this past hour has just been such an incredible opportunity, and I can't tell you how grateful I am. I was like, my brother can tell you, I was like jumping up and down when you guys responded to my email, because I was like, they're like some of my greatest role models, and I was just so over the moon. So I appreciate your time, and I know you're working on so many incredible things right now. So just to be able to sit down with you just made my whole quarantine. So thank you so much.
So sweet.
And do you have any closing words, maybe words of advice for everyone watching, or just something that you would like to close with?
Yeah, and I think that we would just like to say thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Arissa, for doing such an amazing interview. You're such a natural, so you did such a great job. And we would just say that stay positive during this time. Use it to reflect, work on projects, and you can still be doing things right now. Stay engaged with whatever you're passionate about, and make sure that you're pursuing those passions even from home. We would also recommend that you stay connected and talk with people over the phone. Don't go too much on electronics. Like, try to read books, go outside, go for a walk, do those types of things. And I think that believing in yourself is so important too. So continue to believe in yourself, dream big. And you can, I guess, stay connected on Arissa's YouTube channel and see the things that she's going to be posting. And yeah, that's some of the messages that we would like to share.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And just for all our viewers, I'm going to put the link to Maryam and Nivaal's YouTube channel right down below. If you're ever looking for some inspiration or hope, these two really, give the world hope that we are in good hands. So thank you so much for your time. And I definitely would love to connect with you again, hopefully in the near future. And thank you for being such a light. So yeah, it was really great.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. And have a great rest of your day, and good luck with everything you're working on.
Stay safe and well, and thank you for talking to us.
Thank you so much. All right, bye guys. Thank you. Bye. Bye.